Welcome, everybody. Drum roll. I'm trying to be more dramatic with these. There's like different ways to present on all of these, but today I'm excited, really excited to give you guys a studio visit challenge. It's about getting a curator to do a Zoom visit studio with you and how to prepare for that visit so you'll feel confident before and after that visit. And we're going to be using Matthew Barney's studio visit process, and we're going to be using Miranda July's studio visit process. Um, and let me see, make sure everything is working here. Yes, everything seems to be working. So very good. Let's jump into it. So the question is, are you actually ready for a studio visit? Is what everybody thinks, even, moving through this webinar. Because you might think you're not ready because you need more work in the same vein, and you can raise your hands if this resonates, and you don't have enough in that body of work yet. Or you need to be a better artist first, whatever that means, right? Or you don't have an exhibition history and you need one. Or you need to know someone and you don't. Or because something else, like your studio's a mess, you need to reorganize and redecorate your entire studio before you can invite a curator. You need a larger studio to impress curators. You don't really have a studio, it's your kitchen table. This is something I've seen already. People have it on their kitchen table, that's fine. The good news here is that none of those are prerequisites. So to know if you are actually ready, this is the Praxis 30-second litmus test, just 30 seconds. Do I have art that I'm proud of? That's a yes or a no. Do I want the world or anyone to see my art? And am I an artist? These are the three questions, right? How do you answer those? If you answered yes to one of those, so if you want to find a way out of the current fears, which we all have, I'm with you in this pandemic as it's happening now, and instead focus on the hope your art can provide the world, because you are a producer of culture. We talk about that a lot in Praxis Center, right? So if you want to get discovered by curators who value you and your art as a force that can help the world in this difficult time, and who can make their living from selling art like yours, then you're in the right place. Because this month's challenge will be a focused experience for all the members here and some of the people that are sitting in. And welcome aboard, Luna. Luna is a member, as are others here. And this is this month's challenge. So these are some of the people you might want to meet. These are literally some of the most influential young curators in the United States right now. This is what they look like. It's possible to meet them and to have a relationship with them in terms of looking at your work. So a quick note on the litmus test that I just mentioned. The questions I asked were, which are questions for yourself. Do I have art that I am proud of? And do I want the world to see my art? And am I an artist? So if you answered no to those, then I would suggest you work through those first and then come back to this challenge. This is me, Brainard Carey, and since you guys are all members of Praxis Center, I assume you already know who I am, and I see some familiar names like Luna and Kathy. But for those of you who are new here today, I'm Brainard Carey, the founder of Praxis Center, Center for Aesthetic Studies. And I'm an artist, educator, Yale University radio host, and author of these 5 books and 1,200 interviews. I teach artists how to build their careers, without pandering to the market or doing business stuff all the time. So how will this workshop flip your life around? These are some of the things I promised you in the emails leading up to this. You'll go from knowing whom to invite to having a list of curators, right? From not having a good studio visit to having them every 2 months or more because you're using Zoom with ease. Go from awkward or panic-stricken visits to studio visits that are successful, that make you feel great when the curator leaves, the kind of meeting that makes your day better. Here are some of the other insights you'll have. What to say to a curator when you invite them into your studio to make them smile. We're going to break all of this down. how to present yourself and stay in power throughout the studio visit so you don't come across as insecure, boring, or defensive, right? It's painful to even read that from me, right? It's imagine how much worse it is if that happens. So, and I'm also going to talk about why you can break the rules to make a memorable impression as long as you stay within these boundaries. Because if you transgress these invisible boundaries, you run the chance of ruining what you are building and even possibly getting blacklisted. So the post-workshop milestones to track your process will be a custom list of curators. That's the first milestone within a month. Within 2 months, you'll have your first online visit from a curator. And milestone 3 is within 6 months, you're having multiple visits per month. And these visits are leading to more opportunities for exhibition, for direct sales, and more. So the studio challenge, this is the challenge this month for members. And it doesn't matter if it's in your basement or in your one-room apartment or anywhere else. So here we go, everyone. This is where I'm going to explain it all, present the challenge, and you can, of course, ask me questions. So we're going to get a curator to do a studio visit with you, a Zoom, right? These are images from some people in the class. So you feel confident before and after that visit. Studio visits allow a curator to see your art and discuss it with you to see if it fits into their program. These are all very important curators right here. Talked about curators. So I call this the Praxis Perkins Studio Visit Method. Finding the curators, getting the curator to visit your room, your Zoom meeting by saying yes, and then how to conduct the studio visit. Now, I call this Praxis Perkin. Perkin is a lunar impact crater on the moon. That's the name of it. And the idea is with praxis, you can make an impact. That's what your work is about, right? Making an impact. So milestone 1, to create a custom list of curators within a month and go from not knowing whom to invite to having a list of curators. So this is the question I get asked the most. Do you know any curators that could come to my studio? And almost every time, the answer is the same. It doesn't work that way. I always explain, I teach you how to find those curators, how to make them want to visit your studio, because you have to build your own list based on your medium, your way of working, your message, your ideas, the way you want to show your work, which is different for everybody. And even now, it's of course even more different because we're in this virtual exhibits and virtual sales of real art, right? People are selling real art and shipping it. So the step 1 is how to find curators who would be interested and enjoy talking about your work, right? How many of you want that? You can raise your hands in this forum if you want to. A lot of you. Great to see that. And so the curators should have an example of work they have shown in the past that in some way relates to your work. Another way of talking about it is their program. I'll get into more of this, but a program is simply a point of view, such as I show women who paint and live in the area, or I focus on fine editions of work by emerging artists, or my gallery is focused on a diverse voice. These are examples of what a program means. They have a point of view, things that they're curating in their gallery and selling to collectors, and things that they're not. So for example, here's a few curators that are easily Googled from the ones that I was showing you earlier, that's the top curators. She works at Virginia ICA. It's a contemporary museum. And as it says right here in her bio, she organized Niv Evron, Protracted Claims, the first museum exhibition for that Israeli artist. She's done many things in her career as a curator in a museum, but we know at the very least her interests include artists from Israel and other countries that have never had a museum show. That's a distinction. That's something that she does. Some curators may only show artists from the past that aren't living, for example. She shows artists who are unknown and have never had a museum show or emerging. Clara Kim, she's the Tate Modern Curator, right? This is a big curator. Let's say you meet her, or you're wondering whether she could look at your work. You have some kind of connection to her. If you read her bio, which really has her statement in it, in her new role, Kim will focus on the art from Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. So if your art isn't from Africa, Asia, or the Middle East, she's the wrong curator to reach out to, right? If your art is from Africa, Asia, or the Middle East, then she is the right curator. So important to know that. Here's another one, Lauren Connell, to talk about like what program means. She's a curator at the New Museum. She's interested in technology, as her bio said, but also co-curated a triennial. A triennial is a big deal. That's kind of like a biennial. It's a very large-scale group show that happens usually, a triennial every 3 years at the New Museum. So the fact that she co-curated it, you can look at the art of the triennial and see what kind of work's in there. If you have any work like that, that would resonate with her program then. If your work involves technology, obviously, then she may be someone who's also interested in your work. So the list you are building is of curators that have, again, a program that you might fit into. There is a relevant sentence somewhere in their profiles that hints they might relate to your work, like the bios I just showed you. And they put together shows, ideally, that look like you should be in there, right? Like you could see your work in the triennial with other artists because you have a similar medium, like painting or sculpture or performance, or because you relate to their ideas, again, or program. So I'm going to tell you the brief story of how I got a solo show at the Whitney Museum of American Art. It was in the whole wing they had, the Altria wing, and my wife and I had a few ideas for paintings, for sculpture, and also installation and some performance. The show was called Dreams and Possibilities. That was the poster from it. So this is how it started. I began looking for curators. And by that, I went onto the Whitney website. I'm looking for, who curates there. Like I was just trying to figure out who's a curator associated with the museum. And I found different ones. I found the chief curator, which was Shamim Momin. I found the assistant curators to her and other people, and I found an events curator. And so I researched them all, thinking, who do I want to talk to? And I picked the least prestigious one. It was the assistant curator to the events curator, people who do, performances and live events. I figured she still had to be looking for new things, and it might be easier to get a yes. I did get a yes, by the way. It was a show they called a commission. And you can see it right there in their program, but I'm gonna tell you more. So the letter that I wrote to the curator was this. I wrote her a letter, and I'm gonna go over this more later. I complimented her in some way about a show that she had, and I showed a connection to my work. And I'm talking about the assistant events curator. I asked for what I wanted, which was a 15-minute meeting. And this is by Zoom or in person, of course. I got the meeting and said to my wife, she said to my wife and I, so what is going on? That's the first question I found curators ask. How else do you break so I was ready for that. And I had 3 proposals that we described to her. No images, no laptop, no phone that we're using to show images. And we had all those things with us, but we didn't use them. So these were the proposals. The small proposal was a show of prints, monotypes that are all black and white, I told her. They're all about 24 by 30 inches, a dozen of them. They're gestural and abstract. I said, do you know of a venue for a show like that? It's good to ask your curator if they know of a venue. Because instead of it being just about like, can you show these or can you sell these? It's about, can you refer me to another place that would be good? Because they know a lot of places. So she referred me to a nonprofit space. I said, okay. And then there's this other proposal, the medium one, a few prints, some paintings, and also a performance that my wife and I are doing. Do you know of a venue for something like that? Again, leaves it open for them to understand, and give an opportunity for you to show it somewhere. So again, she referred me to someone else. Oh, that nonprofit might be good. Then there was the large proposal. This is really what I wanted. It's an installation with actors, site-specific sets, and basically a whole movie being made with lots of art in it. She said she could mention that to the chief curator if I wanted her to, because she said that sounded interesting. It's out of her league. She doesn't know where that would be curated, but that would be cool in this 5,000 square foot space the Whitney has that's flexible. So wow, right? That was so exciting. And the next thing is, so what do we make a proposal to it? And we're going to meet the chief curator at the next meeting. The chief curator is intimidating, was to me. I've learned a lot since then. I'm not so intimidated by curators, but I was then. This is Shamim Momin. That was the person who, the chief curator that I was having a meeting with my wife. And yeah, we were nervous. What do we say? We didn't have that much planned out even. So we worked with a few architectural students, commissioned them, asked them to do just a fly through. Someone told us about this software. It was very inexpensive to hire them to do it. We showed a sketch for a fly through. Now the Whitney Altria is a 5,000 square foot space, and we wanted to have some sculptures, some images in there. We didn't actually end up doing that. We wanted a huge ceiling sculpture, but this is what this looked like, the fly through to them. There's no sound with this. So that's the space, right? In the fly through, you're now coming through the front entrance of this space of the Whitney. And then you turn, that's a projection we wanted to do of a movie on glass, because there were these glass doors in front of their main gallery. On the gallery, there would be art on the walls. Then you come out through the glass doors, you walk into the space, and on the ceiling is a sculpture we are proposing. There's also a film crew there doing this kind of performative work, and that's looking back into the space with some more art higher up on the wall. You can back out of this space now, which is kind of cool, right? This is, again, very simple. This was just measured by walking it off with feet. And now you can see how the sculpture would look in the museum, at that angle. It's huge. So that was it, right? We ended up not actually doing most of that, but it's so exciting, I've realized, for a curator to see their space being mocked up a little bit, right? And there's very few things we even had in there, but it's very exciting, kind of sexy to see a space being, shown with your work in it. It complements the curator because that's what they love. So it was called a Whitney Live Commission. That was kind of cool too, but it wasn't a commission. I asked for it. I made a proposal with my wife, but that's what they called it, which sounded, of course, even cooler. So then there's your statement, right? So it was more about what I said to the curator than what I showed the curator. There were no images initially. It's the statement, the letter, the words you use. So as a Praxis member, just to go over it with you a little bit, this is how you get your statement edited. This is the Praxis Facebook group, the private group that you're in as a member. You can see by just scrolling down that there's a membership packet right at the top, and you can click on see more, and it'll go to the full membership packet, which again is just an introduction, but it shows you where there's something called a roadmap page, and also where the courses are, not just for this challenge, but also for a number of other things on writing that you're all using. So and just so you know, the roadmap page that will also send you to, this is where you post your questions and everything. As you can see, many other members are in this active group. The roadmap, which is also a link to there, has two aspects to it. One is your custom roadmap. You see on the left there, that's where you can fill out the questionnaire, and I'll give you a personal strategy about how I think you should move forward, because everyone has something different going on wherever you are in the world and everything. So, and then there's also a quick win gallery where you just watch 1-minute videos. But for the feedback, this is how it comes to you, as I suggest a strategy when you fill that out. And I send a video to you that's personal. I'm speaking to you like that. That's how it works. So please take advantage of that for this challenge, if you haven't already. And there's also support from curators, right? Remember, you have support from curators that come to the weekly round table discussions, and those are Zoom meetings, as you can see. This was Dale that came to just last week. She was fantastic. Here's one of the members just commenting about it. She said, and probably all of you know Anne Marie. She might be in this too, but that was fantastic. Exactly why I upgraded to a membership. Dale was real and informative. She was awesome. So milestone 1 is completed that way. Just get the names of the curators in a Praxis Center to start if you want to make it very easy and just skip this step. Because, milestone 2 is within 2 months, you have your first online visit from a curator. So you go from like, I get it, to your first yes. So how to get a curator to visit your studio via Zoom. The first email is always a cold email, as you've never met them before unless you met them in a Zoom meeting in Praxis Center. So here's the breakdown of a letter. The first paragraph, give the curator a deserved, specific compliment. The second paragraph, show a connection to your work. The third paragraph is ask for what you want and show a connection, like how you relate to it. The third paragraph is ask for what you want. We can do a 15-minute Zoom studio visit. That's what I did with the curators that I mentioned, and it really is a great way. Now, there's a few mistakes you want to avoid in getting to this point, because there's a few things never to say or do, because when you do, you risk ending the relationship, burning a bridge, feeling bad about it all later, and the real horror story would be no follow-up visits, no feedback, no connections, no shows, or no sales. So to prevent that, using WhatsApp is sometimes seen as invasive, as in texting, email is best and professional, and there's a nice distance. And a few other no-nos are just avoid statements of desperation, panic, avoid sounding upset in an email or irritated at a lack of response. That's the professional method. But there's always an alternative method, right? There's always breaking the rules and doing something your own way. I'm presenting things very professionally here because that's what tends to work in the group and what people like doing. But there's also room for being eccentric, breaking the rules, especially if you're a rebel and don't like the idea of professionalism. So let's watch a small clip from Miranda July's movie, Me, You, and Everyone We Know. This is a two-minute clip. Miranda July is an artist that has been in museum exhibitions like the Whitney Museum Biennial, and is also a filmmaker, visual artist. She understands the art world like you and I do, so she can make light of it, and sometimes curators can seem hard to reach, right? So she's also the actor we see in this clip, and it's about her bringing a piece of, a submission to a museum.
That's a limited access floor. You need a swipe card.
Oh, I'll just get off on 2 then.
You want the offices?
Actually, are you Nancy Harrington?
Yes.
Okay, because I wanted to show you my art. I brought this tape I thought we could watch.
Okay, why don't you send it to this address?
But that's here. Can I just hand it to you?
You'll get lost. It's better if you send it.
But I'm so close. Okay. Do you need the thing made out?
Oh, great. You're here. Let's go down.
Okay, so that's it, right? That's, again, as Miranda July playing it. So then, that's the first scene, right? The classic awkwardness of a curator being a little cold, right? Steely. And so the artist sent in another video trying something more creative. And this is also a 2-minute video where she's trying to get the curator, Nancy Harrington's, attention.
But I'm trying to change. All right. This song is for you. And yes, it is a love song. Hi, Nancy Harrington. So,
this morning, if you remember, you asked me to send my work, and that was it, what you just watched. Did you love it? I'm just kidding. I can see why you don't do this face to face. It can be very awkward. Hi. And then you say, hi, how was your day? Oh, me? I had a really weird day, actually. And now I'm here, alone in my apartment. You're probably in your big house with your family and your dog, and probably your dog has a family too. You're probably all gathered around the fire singing carols, even though it isn't Christmas, just for fun. We'll never, ever see this because you'll never watch this far on the tape. You'll probably never even watch the tape, will you? I could do anything right now. If you are watching this, then just call this number, okay? Just call this number, the number you see on your screen, and say macaroni, okay? That's all you have to do. Just macaroni and hang up. No questions asked.
Okay, so, and here's the last 20-second scene.
We have a whole life to live together, you fucker. But it can't start until you call. Elder cab.
Macaroni.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. That is Miranda July, but it really is a paradigm of breaking the rules. It's not like everything that I say about professionalism or the professional approach is the only way. You can also use your own way of getting in there. So you want another example of breaking the rules? I'll give you one. James Lee Byers, he's the artist that went into the Museum of Modern Art and said he wanted to talk to the curator of contemporary art. She came down and she told him that, curators don't meet with artists, thank you. And he said he just wanted a show of some drawings of his. And she said she can't do that either. They don't show living artists. He began sending her letters pretty regularly to Dorothy Miller. That's what they looked like. Different shapes of letters on different kinds of paper, kept telling her about his art and that he wanted a show somewhere in the museum. Well, the fact is, within a year or so of writing these letters, he got a show in the museum. And then 20 years later, they exhibited all his letters, and where he got a show, by the way, was in the emergency stairwell. He was insistent. He said, I need to have a show, and, at MoMA, and, he considered the fact that the curator was even writing back to him or receiving his letters sometimes, that she was mentoring him. She didn't see it that way at all, but she, after being asked so many times, she did give him an exhibit in the stairwell. So here's a couple more stories. Quickly, Paige Weary, a gallery owner and curator that I interviewed for Yale University Radio. She owns, it's called the Good Luck Gallery in LA, and shows outsider artists, or artists that have not been taught how to make art. She told me a story of how one artist gave her a long story about his life as an orphan and his relationship to the circus and his mean parents. And she totally bought it and gave him a show. And then he said he lied about it to her when she got the show. He said because he wanted a show. So, incredible, right? So she changed the program of her gallery because he was not the outsider he lied about. His name is Jacques Fleischmuller, and this is some of his work. Looks almost outsider art, right? But it's not. So another example is from myself. I said, it was not long after a show I had at the Whitney that I was trying to get in touch with curators, and I was feeling like I could meet anybody then. But the fact is, it wasn't so easy. And I called one curator at a museum in New York, and I would say, "Hi, can I speak with Anne? This is," and they'd say, "Who's calling?" "Brainerd." "Hold on a minute." And they'd say, "Oh, Anne's in a meeting right now." I thought, okay. So I'd call back, and it was the same thing. "Can I speak with Anne?" "Who's calling?" "Brainerd." "Oh, she's in a meeting right now." And I thought, oh my God, she doesn't want to speak with me. And this was a curator I had met at actually at dinner somewhere. And so I thought, how could she not say hello? So then I called again and I said, "Hi, I'm looking to talk to Anne." "Who's calling?" I said, "A writer from Brooklyn Rail." And suddenly she picked up the phone. And, what I did was I began writing for the Brooklyn Rail and interviewing people. But what happened was she got on immediately, and I said, "Anne, this is Brandon. I've been trying to call you, and I could write an article. I don't know." And she said, "Oh my gosh, sorry, I've just been so busy." She didn't know me or really at all. So that taught me something, though. That was kind of breaking the rules and not the most professional way to get to a curator. But I realized if you interview people, it's pretty easy to get to them. And that's why I've interviewed almost 1,200 people. Anybody in the art world that I want to reach, from major artists to curators to artists that aren't major, I can reach and ask questions about how did that happen, as well as with curators. So obviously you have access to all those recordings. If you're not sure if you're about to go too far, sometimes it's hard to know where to draw the line, right? And if the tone of your letter is right. As a Praxis member, you get feedback. So here's what the way you get.
What you'll see is
the way you'll get feedback is sorry about that. Is the way you'll get feedback is on the roadmap page. Again, you can scroll through it. It's organized for kind of quick wins, and so it's easy to manage. But there's something called your custom roadmap on there again, and that's where you can fill out the questionnaire there, and then I'll send you a personal video explaining what I think your strategy is. And the personal videos look like this. They're just to you, and
contact the artist and email.
It's often a breakdown of different things, but use that for this challenge. And so the case study just recently, member writes, "I heard back from Anne at the Hammer. It's a major museum. Since her new position appointment as at a different institution, she said things are crazy, due to this transition, and will contact me to schedule a studio visit when she gets things under control. I believe she will, so I wrote her back with appropriate understanding and good wishes. What are your thoughts as to where do I go from here?" So then I wrote her and I gave her the way to follow up in 2 letters that you'll see in the writing module of Praxis Center. And she said, "Got it. Glad we clarified that. Thank you so much, Brainerd. I'll keep you posted." So how to conduct the studio visit is step 3. You go from awkward and panic-stricken, right, to successful visits that make you feel great when the curator leaves. That's the idea. That's from a recent one, a Zoom studio visit, and I'll show you examples of it. So the artist Matthew Barney, we talked about Miranda July and kind of breaking the rules and accessing curators in unconventional ways, but still as an artist. Matthew Barney, major artist, also had a solo show at the Guggenheim. He's a visual artist that makes sculpture and also films. His studio visits early on were always talked about as kind of an extraordinary experience. Everyone was raving about them. Now he uses unusual surfaces. This is and processes. This is a recent piece of copper exposed to water and other elements. He makes short films, videos. But the question was, what the heck is going on in Matthew Barney's studio? Why do curators leave his studio thinking they met the Wizard of Oz? So Nancy Spector, chief curator, Guggenheim Museum in New York. Big curator. I interviewed Nancy for Yale University Radio, and she explained to me exactly how Matthew Barney conducted his studio visit. It's a method I would suggest you consider when doing a Zoom studio tour. Here's Nancy Spector. Perhaps almost like Nancy Harrington in the film, can have an intimidating look, an intimidating pose. This is what she said happened and is what I would suggest. It began with him showing a kind of messy desk and a corkboard, saying, and then he's talking a little bit about maybe he got that postcard from somewhere, or a little bit what's on his desk, vaguely, what he's thinking about. Then he shows an unfinished drawing, explain what the drawing might turn into. Then an unfinished painting and kind of what he's thinking about there, what's working, what's not. Then a video clip that's unedited that he shows on his phone. And then a finished painting, just one finished work. And then an experiment that he's working on, like the copper erosion with salt, something that he's playing with. And that's it. But he just walked you through unfinished works, so you saw what he was doing and got closer to the ideas forming those works, which is exciting, very exciting for a curator. And that's what Nancy Spector said. This is, the classic curator portrait. That's Nancy Spector, and she looks almost like a, Harrington, right? So when you use the same method for Zoom or FaceTime meetings, the question is what to say to a curator when you invite them into your studio to make them smile immediately and love you, including her, right? You want her to be warmed up to your work immediately. You want Nancy Spector to feel happy about what's going on. So you can begin by asking them a question. How are you? How is your neighborhood or community? You could ask them now. But if you really want a lot of love and to break the ice right away and get a big smile, ask them immediately about something they have curated, including, Nancy Spector. She would light up if you told her about what she's currently working on. And you'll know because you Googled it. It's pretty simple to find out. Curators are really not the power brokers we imagine them to be. You are. You truly are. They're nothing without artists, right? But you can exist without a curator. Artists are often intimidated by curators thinking they have the power. But the truth is that curators are intimidated by artists. Curators are academics. They studied art. They don't know anything about making art. Only you do. And Nancy Spector is not that intimidating. That's how she looks at the left, right? Here she is standing with two big art stars, Matthew Barney and Marina Abramovic. And you can see her demeanor changes. This is what people are like in real life. They're easier to talk to. Now the artists look quite intimidating here, right? You see the power shift there. And you don't have to be these two artists to experience that if you tell her about what she's working on now and compliment her. So another tip I promised you, how to present yourself and stay in power throughout the studio visit so that you don't come across as insecure, boring, or defensive. Put them in the hot seat when in doubt. Ask about recent or past work because you did the research to protect yourself here, right? You know a little bit about what, let's say, Nancy, has done. And instead of saying why you made something or why you're making something, say how you made it. That will teach them something right away. It's what Matthew Barney did. He talked about the how, not the why. Ask which of a specific selection of work is their favorite. Then explain why that one's special. That means you show them, let's say, 3 works that are finished and say, which one is your favorite? It's easy enough for a curator on Zoom to point to that one, the one on the left. And then you can talk about just that one. Now you have a meeting point. So let's face it, a studio visit is a show and tell setup. With Zoom, there's a few techniques you can slowly master. Let's look at a clip of a Praxis member giving a studio visit with Zoom, with her phone, in a 1-bedroom
this is my studio. And if I turn the camera, I think it's better. So I can show you from, this is the studio I'm working, and it's a home studio. So I just moved before Corona started. So that's kind of new change for me. And I wanted to work more in a studio type that is in my home. But anyway, so now I'm more focused for working. I have different types of work, but as I said, the body of work is different. But one type of work is more about calligraphy, which I used to do since I was 6 years old. And this image you see, it's looks like texture, but when you go close, it's actually poetries that I'm writing by hand. So these are calligraphy. And do you see?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So that's very small. How small?
Yeah. These
Yeah.
are, so for example, in this piece, there are like 300,000 words almost, or 400,000 words.
So that's one studio visit. I mean, we can talk about what worked and what didn't work about that. These are things we break down, right? Moving into the painting worked very well. The technology of using it, she was able to flip the camera so we could see the work and not a kind of a selfie with the work sort of thing. There could have been a little less footage of just the studio itself, but you know, we could see it's one room, right? The kitchen, everything is right there. So you might be asking, you know, I'm not an extrovert or smooth or charismatic, you know, around your work. I get that, you know, but even if you're not an extrovert or smooth around your art or charming or have some natural charisma, I get it. It comes down to sincerity, really, authenticity, you know, no big philosophy, just a person with good intentions. Artists are forgiven for social awkwardness. They're not expected to be smooth talking curators or museum directors. There's no need for perfection, you know, just show your work. That's what's powerful. In that studio visit, which was by Mobina, a member of Praxis, a professional camera person is clearly not needed, right? And we see what's going on. You have a sense of her work already. So there's embracing your quirks, right? Miranda July made a funny video instead of the submission and addressed the awkwardness of the process of applying. James Lee Byers sent beautiful letters to a curator, right? Looks like fun, right? And got a show. That would work even better now because letters are so rarely received. Jacques Fleischmuller made up a story he knew the curator wanted to hear and loved it. Invited them to a show, you know, when he said he lied. But here's a member in Praxis Center, you know, because everybody is eccentric in their own way. And here's an example of what maybe you would think you wouldn't say to someone on a studio visit, but it's possible. And he's in his basement.
You know, based on how I painted it. So this one is a piece of stone, actually. It's pretty heavy. And, you know, oh, I just got paint on my hands. It's, you know, it's a piece of stone. So the joke is I get stoned and I paint it. So, you know, so that's where this texture comes from. So I paint a little more liberally when I'm stoned. And, but this one is interesting too. This is like one that.
Okay, so here's a little better maybe with the camera work. We were steady, didn't see an image that clearly, but also kind of funny for him to tell that story and a little outrageous in a way. Would make a curator take notice. I'm not saying you should do that. That's one way of being kind of embracing your quirks. Another way is, here's another Praxis member, and she's just being really authentic and sincere about what's going on and where she is. And she's also setting up her studio in her living room. With you, where are you? And let's talk about your studio and what you have in there. Where are you?
I live in Laurel Canyon in Los Angeles, where all the rock stars used to live in the 60s. And it's a little tiny compared in LA, 2-bedroom. I'm a single parent of a child with Down syndrome. And if he's not with me, he is with his dad. So luckily I co-parent, and when I'm not with him, I make stuff. So this is it's like a sunroom that I've taken over and made into my art studio. You can see like there's a.
So you see how she's, I'll just stop it there, but she's actually has it in a laptop, which is a little more difficult, but still she can lift it up. She's obviously put up those things just for a studio visit. It's in her very small living room. That works. That can work too. You know, the camera work was okay, and we could see her work clearly. After this, she brought work right in front of the camera, and it was very easy to see of her laptop. But stay within these boundaries, because if you transgress these invisible boundaries, you do ruin the chance of even getting blacklisted. So some boundaries to always observe. Don't make fun of something or someone or be hurtful in any way. Maybe that's an obvious one. Don't critique their shows harshly. You know, not taken so easily. We're all very sensitive. Don't text or message or email daily. Weekly is okay. Daily is too much. Don't act desperate in any way. And probably the most important right now, these are a lot of young curators out there. Be sensitive to gender, pronouns, privilege, sexism, derogatory words. I think it's not hard to be aware of that, but some people, curators will give you their pronouns right away. So what happens when you do this wrong? Curators don't come back, or you lose a show, or you lose a sale, you lose a potential friend when you potentially get blacklisted. So here's an image of the monthly studio visits that many of you have been in. Some people are showing their computer on the left, so we get a sense of what he's working on. An artist below is showing the paintings, and this is
all
you know,
muted.
another artist showing kind of their studio itself. So it can work very well, and she's doing this in a kind of selfie format and slows down, but that actually ends up working very well when we stop and ask her about work. She's doing a great studio visit. So okay, it's the really fun aspect of it. Here's just a post from, you guys all know each other that are members, but like she said, I love the studio visit and meeting other artists. I felt life. I truly recommend it. This was from one of the last ones, and yeah, it's full of life. It's fun. And here's an example of somebody reaching that milestone already. Granted, I was on the Zoom call today with Dale Youngman. That was the round table with a curator. I reached out to her on Instagram through her website. She already asked me to send PDF catalogs and to schedule a studio visit next week. Thank you. So milestone 3 is within 6 months or sooner, if you're ready, you're having multiple visits per month. After one Zoom studio visit, the next is easier. Studio visits, right, like art itself, gets better the more you do it, period. So then there's that phrase, praxis perkin. With practice, you can make an impact. Perkin, I know you don't know that word. I had to look it up. I was looking for a new word. Perkin is the name of a creator, an impact creator on the moon. Praxis, with practice, you make an impact. After the first studio visits, you'll be less intimidated to do another. Use your list of curators to set a goal, like 1 virtual visit per month. Ask for 2 visits, let's say, from 2 different curators once a week. That's 8 unique asks in a month. That should result in at least 1 Zoom visit from a curator. And your first could be in Praxis Center, of course. Examples of this is Zoom from Amsterdam, a member looking through his work. And you saw her studio. Here's 2 in the basement. The lighting isn't that good, but we can still see what's going on. Member showing off printmaking process on the above left. And here's a curator from last week discussing, for example, to Q&As, how a commission works.
She's not a blue chip collector, but she spends a lot of money and she's willing to commission a piece, but it needs to fit this strange alcove. So let your curator know, or if you're doing, as I say, this show and tell kind of walkthrough, let them know what you're up for, because not every artist will do that.
So that's you can ask her questions. People build connections that way with her right away. There's other speakers like David Ross. He was a fantastic lecturer, and we really talked about the state of the art. David Ross was the director of the Whitney Museum, the former director of SF MoMA, and now he's the chief, the head, the dean of the arts program at School of Visual Arts in New York City. So, this was a powerful discussion, and it's recorded in your theory class in Praxis Center, because these discussions are more about philosophical aspects, not so much the market, and can help you with how to talk about your art. Some amazing people in these discussions. So again, this month's challenge. Now, all I want you to do is this: find 3 curators to reach out to. And the hint is use the resources in Praxis Center, listen to the curator in the round table. And so just so you know how to review and follow along with this challenge. Here's Praxis Center, Praxis Center for Aesthetics. This is the website, of course, where all the courses are. And you go to the website as a member, you log in, and this is what you see, all your courses, like getting into galleries, writing statements and bios, lots of lectures, social media strategy, theory, time management, taxes, selling art online. But you see the monthly challenges right there? that's where you find this challenge always, and some support for it. So don't hesitate to use that. That's what we're working on today, and this recording will also be in there. So then you can go back to your other courses, and to move forward, the Praxis Perkins Studio Visit Method. So we've gone through the three big steps. It's who they are, how to find them, how to know you're a good fit. Then there's getting the curator to visit you, how to write that letter exactly we went through. And then there's conducting the studio visit, exactly how to do that with a few options. So the post-workshop milestones to track our custom list of curators within a month is milestone 1. Milestone 2 is within 2 months you have your first online visit from a curator. Milestone 3 is you go from awkward and panic-stricken visits to having successful ones that make you feel great when the curator leaves. So Praxis Perkins is my favorite words lately. With Praxis, you will make an impact, a cultural impact, the kind of impact a beautiful poem makes, right? A contribution to our culture forever, because that's what artists do. This is about the long game, you know. It's the impact, just, you know, being an artist can be in this world. So that's the life that awaits you. I don't want you to sit on this information. I want you to use it. So pick up your calendar, fence off 30 minutes so you can do the challenge I gave you. Because when you take action, you know, with this studio visit method that I taught you, what you're going to happen is you'll see, instead of feeling disheartened or defeated because a voice keeps saying nothing's happening or no one's talking about my work, you'll wake up and find yourself saying, I met 4 curators who I'm emailing on a regular basis, and I have a FaceTime visit with all of them. Or I'm creating a show with a curator that lives in another country by Zoom. Or you're saying to yourself, wow, that conversation on Zoom with a museum director was inspiring. Or I have 3 new Zoom artist studio visits that we share work in process. Or you're writing this to me. As I showed you before, I was on the Zoom call, I reached out to her, and already she has a studio visit. And what I hear most often these days is, I'm looking forward to the Artist Roundtable weekly talk. It's the highlight of my week, or it's about something hopeful and beautiful. The roundtable talks are really exciting, and they're fun, and we get to know each other, and it's great. Because we are a community, and artists can thrive on the right support. So now more than ever, community, and it's all about these Zoom communities, is what's happening there. So you guys know that as members. As Misty said just recently, wanted to let you know, she did another challenge and it's working. She found curators to interact with, and they've responded to comments I left about artwork. I've also found opportunities to apply to. Thank you. She was using a challenge very similar to this one about curators. This one's even more pointed because it's towards Zoom studio visits only. She's talking about how she got an exhibit. She emailed images, used verbiage that I suggested, and then down here, you gave me a lot of insights into having these successful conversations. I feel we presented ourselves professionally and with confidence. You know, that's one way to feel comfortable with a curator. Tatiana has been a member for a while, so nice to see the old post from 3 years ago when I first started this class. Really appreciate the support back then. Thank you, Brainerd Carey. I did get both of those grants I applied to, first-time grant writing, and ended up bringing my work to a biennial with minimal out-of-pocket cost. It was a good experience. So, you know, all of these people are members that are Praxis that had their bio statements and materials worked on for presentation to curators. I like this one. Good news, bad news, great news, greater news. Good news is I followed the studio visit tour plan that Brainerd offered here, set up my new painting studio. Bad news, he ghosted. Great news, while waiting for him the second day, I received an email that the same piece won a merit award for competition. Yay. And the greater news, this update. He bought the painting for $1,000, shipped to him. Kira had a meeting, this is happening now quite a bit, curators with nonprofit centers doing portfolio reviews. She said, you know, she really wanted to pitch him a solo show though. How does she do that? Explained it in the Facebook group, and then she said, hey, the meeting went great. The curator loved my series and is interested in giving me a solo show. What you asked for, you know? The Whitney called what I did with them a commission. I asked for it. So the good news is that none of these people are special, no special education. No special connections or friends in the art world. No special secret advantage. They are not an entirely different breed of artists than you are. So if they can do this, you can. And I'm here to help. Remember, your Praxis Center members, you have access to the resources you see on the screen as part of your membership, in addition to all the other resources I mentioned during the presentation. So you're set to succeed. You're talented. You have what it takes. Just believe in yourself. You'll be getting, as you know, this personal strategy video from me, which I played you a little bit of, but you know, that's how it works. It's directly talking
Thanks
to you.
for submitting the questionnaire. I just wanted to give you some feedback.
It'll be very specific to your situation. And, you know, the weekly roundtable discussions, use those for this challenge. Talk to myself and every other artist. Every week we meet each other, we talk, and you can ask curators and people questions. And the last bit before I answer all your questions, if you have any, is there's other experts like Courtney Coleman. I'll let her introduce herself.
This is Connecting with Art Advisors and Curators. My name is Courtney Coleman, and I'll give you a brief a bit about my background. I am the founder of Coleman Art Advisory. I happen to be both a curator and an art advisor, so you're going to get to see me wear both hats. And previous to founding Coleman Art.
So she talks about how to reach someone like her as a curator, and also how to work with art advisory curators and other people like it. And of course, there's the Zoom studio visit as part of this challenge. I want to see your studio and help you practice for your next studio visit with a curator. We have so much fun there. You have 8 classes in my support. Don't hesitate to use the Statement in Bio class, the grant resources. As you know, I talk about that a lot. A lot of grants are available right now and opportunities for artists because of COVID funding everywhere. A forum to get your questions answered, private Facebook group, use it. And, you know, use the meetings we have with with museum directors and curators. So you guys, sincerely, I believe you're the light of the world, right? The hope. You are cultural producers. That's what all artists are. They're literally making culture. And I think your calling is needed now more than ever. Your role in the global balance is critical. I believe art saves lives, one dream at a time. It's an inspiring voice just to exist and to be making work. So this is your chance. Now is your time. Thanks for attending this presentation. Remember the recording will be in your challenge here for the group. Thanks so much for all the members being here. Okay, for everyone else, questions right now. Any questions? I'm here to answer with members and non-members. Here's the links I promised you. So if you want to sign up, I'm opening it up today. Do you guys see the links? To join is at the top. Oh, I didn't tell you about joining. You've been asking. So it's $59 a month. You can't click on the screen, but you can click in the chat. It's $59 a month, and for those who want to join. And for that, you'll get those personal strategy video from me. You'll get this challenge, everything that you see. You'll be in roundtable community member meetings every week and have all this, as well as potentially studio visits. Okay, so someone's asking, where's this the link to join? That's right here. So let's see. Yeah, and yeah, as far as signing up, I'm opening it up today. You can't get this anywhere else online. This VIP membership at $59 a month gives you the fundraising course where you can raise money, and that's a big part of what happens here. So where to search out curators? Alfred, well, there's a number of ways. Maybe you didn't hear the beginning of the presentation, but we talked about finding curators whose work, whose program, whose way of looking at the world fits yours. So that depends on where you're located, Alfred, and also your medium. And as a member of the group, of course, one way is to meet them in the group at the roundtable discussions, like everyone's talking about that I quoted from, and you saw they met Dale, and some of them are having studio visits already. So what were the second and third paragraphs for cold email to curators? First paragraph is compliment. Second is show a connection. Third is ask for what you want, Sandra. Melissa, so what do you say in a follow-up? Oh, and someone wants that link again to join. There it is. You're sending me that by email. And there's a few new members. I just want to welcome you guys aboard. Rachel and Jules, welcome aboard, new members. I can't wait to meet all you guys. It's so much fun in these roundtable talks. This was a new webinar. Did you guys like this webinar? This is a brand new one for me. You've seen other ones. Better or worse? Did you like all that video? Should there have been not as much? Do I talk too fast? Don't hesitate to give me some feedback. Okay, well, I answer your questions because I'd love a little feedback on, was this a good webinar, you know, to keep you awake and give you information, whether you're a member or not. How can I connect with Praxis on Facebook? Omo Digono, the best way to connect is there's an Art World Demystified page. But if you want to dialogue with all of us and be on Zoom meetings and studio visits, Omo Digono, then use the link and sign up. I'd love to have you aboard. Okay, how important is location? I'm in the Midwest. Ellen, location is not important in terms of meeting curators and having visits, especially now. Curators always feel that part of what they have to battle is they have to look outside their scene. So if you're a curator and you're in a big city, you know that you want to look outside the city as well. That's part of what your job is. So not only is it not a disadvantage to live outside a city, it's what curators really have to do. They should be looking outside cities. So, and with Zoom now, it's even easier. So let's see. So CE, what is the source of the statements you showed on the screen? The details, what curators' interests are. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. You could ask that again. But we talked about them having programs. They'll often tell you, oh, your work doesn't fit into my program. And so I said, like, how do you find out their programs, right? You look at their bios on their own website or the institution's website, and they'll talk about their interests, which if they don't spell it out, just like they did with the Tate, they'll say, she's curated this show, and this show. And then you look at those shows and you'll see what the curator's interests are. Great, you loved it. Thanks so much. Thanks, Jill and everybody, for saying such nice things. Link to the online book doesn't work. Okay, email me if it doesn't. Okay, Jasmine said enjoyed it. It went fast with the slides, but informative. Yeah, if you guys want me to slow down, that's good to say. That's I appreciate the feedback. Okay, here's the links again because you say the book isn't working. Let's see. I'll try it in front of you guys in a second. Okay. Yeah, I think I just clicked the link. Let me see here. Yeah, and it was working. So, yeah, I just did post the book link again. Everything's posted down there. Thanks, Christoph. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, I need to know that it's inspiring or working. So I really appreciated it. Thanks for saying all these nice things. Okay, so more questions. I did post the book link again. Thanks, Sarah. I'm glad you felt that way. I really appreciate this feedback. It helps me to make more like this. So I feel as a 67-year-old artist, I sense ageism on some applications. It seems every residency program I applied to and not accepted seem much younger. I feel my work and CV are support my qualifications. Winston, if that's your name, you're right. It's your work that supports who you are. Ageism, just like other aspects of our culture that are not helpful, right? Ageism is being consciously addressed, right? We not only want older people in residencies, all art organizations know this. We want people of different backgrounds, different geographies. So know that while ageism is a real thing, just as sexism and racism, every organization which is, really tries to be as democratic as possible is doing their best to overlook it. It's not a small clique of young people that are just doing it. It's that young people tend to apply more. But yeah, I hope I hope you either join or continue to apply for things, because I think that's not working against you now. My teaching semester is over. Okay, great. Welcome aboard, Leslie. Okay, may want to edit, Gina, and some of the video work, right? Because you can feel a little nauseous with going around the studio, right? Great, Jack. You're in Bilbao. Bilbao, right? Curators there. You can reach the Guggenheim there as well as other museums. So I hope you guys are in the group. I'm going to go through all your questions. So it looks like Laura just joined. Someone is asking for the membership link. There's a lot of questions, but I'm going to get to them all. And this membership is open just for now. I'll send you an email about it, but there isn't. So the $40 membership that you can find elsewhere doesn't have the patrons and sponsors course in it. That's a powerful course. That's normally an $800 course. The $59 gives you everything in Praxis Center and the patrons and sponsors course, which is where people raise money. Okay. Thanks for adding that in, the link. Right, it was missing the F at the end, and you fixed it. Perfect. Thank you, you guys. Add the F to PDF, and it works. Thanks so much. Okay, so add the F to the PDF, and it'll work. Appreciate that, you guys. So I understand what to look in their bio. So the curators to first find the curators, look in museum websites. Yeah, absolutely. And you can also just search other places. Yeah, top curators, hot curators to look for. You'll see they're always doing roundups of curators by city, by country. And then, it's getting ready and practicing for your studio visit, which if you're in the group, I think you are, I'm not sure, practice there. Great, Omodigono, thank you. Welcome aboard then. Yeah, there's a number of people that have come on. Thanks, great to see you guys. Let's see, and thanks everybody for reposting the PDF. Really appreciate that. You guys are great. And I want to welcome a few more people aboard. I'm going to answer all your questions. That is the link to join because a few of you are asking that. And okay, so that works. Is the book cheaper today, Sarah? It's free today. It's a download. Yes. So let's see. You guys put it right in there. Thank you, Todd. I'm going to put it in here again. There's the book. That works. The link that works. Okay. Does our location matter when it comes to inviting a curator for an exhibit? Omodigono says, no, it doesn't, because we're all doing Zoom studio visits now, right? The world's in a lockdown. So the thing about this lockdown is that even after this, it's going to continue because in some ways it's easier for a curator to do. Now that they've all been forced to do Zoom studio visits, it'll be something of the future. More people will do it. So I'm sure you'll see more of that. So the link isn't active. The link, not on the screen. If you want to sign up, you have to do it in the chat. And that's right here, Sarah, in the chat. So use that link to sign up. Wendy, where do you find emails? Well, it depends who you're looking for. Like in the group, you talk, if the curator that was just on, she tells you, specifically, you can contact me through her Facebook group or everyone has different methods of how they like to be contacted. So email, care of the institution is one way. And the other way is asking them or using the ones in Praxis Center. And, you'll have one really soon if you're a member. Okay, so stand right there. I will make the book link active. That's okay. Here it is. That should be it. Click on that one there. That's all right. That's all right. Tell me how that works. How can I share so that artist friends can watch this presentation? I don't have a way for you to share it, Betty. That's true. So yeah, hopefully you'll get the books. When is the next round table, Christoph? I do them early, to account for European time. They're at 2. I think that some of the round tables are at 6, so that would be midnight your time, and some of them are 2. They go back and forth every other week. So there's like one for Europe and one for what would be after work here. So Sarah, send me an email. Respond to any of my emails, and I'll get it for you. Yeah, and you'll see. Thanks, Greg. And yeah, what you'll see is a lot of. Let me see. And a few people just joined, so I want to welcome you aboard. I want to welcome you aboard, Agnes and June and James, Harry. Welcome, great new members. Good to have you aboard. So let's see. The evolution is truly nice. Yeah. Oh, great. You're replying to Dr. Jane Ann. Yeah. Thanks. Well, you know, right now the idea that I have with Praxis Center is, you know, I'm focused on just what are more. It's all come through members saying we want more of this or more of that, and so there's more of that. So what I'm excited about it in the evolution of it, and I'm so glad you guys are too, is the studio visits that started last November, and that not only is great to show and get feedback on work, but meeting the curators, which is the new part of that, is huge, and the community of us all, like checking out each other's art and saying, wow, you know, what's your medium, or how did you do that? You know, it's really fun. Okay, we are 2 people. Crit team, any recommendations on our Zoom meetings? There are 2 people. Well, that's fine. My wife and I are if that's what you mean, are also collaborative as we presented ourselves as Praxis. So yeah, with the Zoom meeting, you each have a camera, you each have a laptop, you each have a phone, whatever it is that you have, that would work. So so okay. To sign up again, here it is. Oh, to share it. Yeah, I'm not sure how to share it. Send me an email if you want to share it. But Leslie, great. So glad you are here, and look forward to hearing from you guys in the group. I think this is an exciting challenge, especially since we now have a curator. You can even watch the rerun of that and hear everything Dale said about how to get in contact with her for a possible studio visit. So the first curator is really done for you guys in Praxis Center. She's right there, you know. Just join with the link here, and you can rewatch that. I just posted that actually in the unit section in the private Facebook group. It says recordings of Artist Roundtable and recordings of studio visits. Check the Artist Roundtable recording, and you'll see Dale there talking about how to reach a curator. So yeah, you'll have to rewatch it. So again, welcome aboard, everyone. Great to see you here, and for all the new members that have signed up, I can't wait to get to know more about your art. I'll send you a video right away when you sign up, or within a day, where I'll be welcoming you personally. And then when you fill out the questionnaire, I'll also send you a personal video of me giving you a strategy for how to move through Praxis Center, how to move forward to achieve your goals, wherever you are in the world. So that's a personal video that'll come from me. Yeah, but you should. I'm reading your comment. Okay, glad to hear that. Yeah, Erin, I'll send it to your phone. I'll send you an email. So yeah, so glad you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for the good feedback. I was concerned that this one was so new, but I was trying to get more pictures and videos in it to make it fun. So I'm so glad you guys enjoyed it. Great to have you new members aboard. I know Jennifer, I think Jennifer, that was the one that just wrote, I'm not sure. Jennifer just signed up too, so welcome, Jennifer. You know, this Thursday, there's a round table. So for all of you that are just joining on, you can come into the round table. And the round table, you don't have to have your video, by the way, on. You can just listen. You can just watch. Whatever you want to do, ask questions by text or a lot of ways. So yeah, stay safe, everyone. Be well. Thank you again for the kind words, compliments. So glad you guys enjoyed this one. And don't hesitate to ask me questions. Yeah, the VIP bid is only offered now. So if you want it, yeah, use that link. Otherwise, it's the $40 starter membership that doesn't have the $800 patrons course and other things attached, which you could also find on the website. But this one is only offered through this. So Hella, yeah, great to meet you too. Great to see your work and your website and what you're doing and as a fellow dad. So all of you, be safe, be well. Look forward to seeing all you members in the roundtable discussions. Always great to hear from everybody there. And for new members and those signing up now, I really look forward to sending you a video and getting to know more about you and your work.